Hey, this is Jen Gray, your host of Be Genuine with Jen podcast, where we discover how our authenticity is our superpower. I am so excited you've joined me for today's episode. Let's get started. Hey friends, happy Friday or whatever beautiful day it is in your world when you are listening to this. I am Jen Gray. I am super excited to hang out with you guys today. We are on episode 19 of the podcast and talking all about rejection and failure and really our relationship with that and how it can ultimately change our mind, change our life, change our perspective, change our success, and all of the things. And it all lies on, honestly, how we embrace failure and how we champion failure and what that role is in our life. And I don't know about you guys, but when I think failure, I immediately don't think something positive. But then when you think back on the failures of your life, you also can probably relate with me and know that the greatest successes obviously came from the deepest failures in our life. And I want to read a quote. I'm reading a book called Worthy by Jamie Kern Lima. If you do not have this book, I can genuinely not suggest it any more highly. I don't care if you are a man, woman, child, all the things. I think it's such a powerful reminder that our success is way deeper, right? And we are worthy of success because we were created for success. And when we dive deep into our soul and look at that, it's a game changer, right? And we understand that we are wired for something so deep. And so I want to read this quote again. I think it's super amazing. It's a Michael Jordan quote. If you guys are Michael Jordan fans, if you're not, then just bear with the quote. It's like 2 seconds long, but listen, y'all. It says, "I've missed 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." It's Michael Jordan. I don't know if you missed that part of that quote where he doesn't say I had success in spite of my failures. He said, the reason I have success is because I've failed the 9,000 shots. I missed the 26 game-winning points. And I don't know about you in your life, but if you can look back over the failures of your life and realize that you are only as strong as you are because of what you overcome, I think everything changes. And in fact, I actually just as we jump right into this, I want to encourage you with something. I challenge you, get out a journal and start writing through the biggest moments of failure in your life. And here's why I want you to write those down, not to wallow in them and not to send yourself into some self-deprecating spiral, but I want you to write it down. And here's what I want you to write below it. I want you to write the lessons that you learned and the person that you became only because you experienced those low times in your life. You know what that does? First of all, that shifts your mind into thinking of the hardest seasons of your life. They did not disqualify you. In fact, they enabled you to become a version of yourself that was only possible because of the failures and setbacks that you experienced. And the flip side of that is, listen, if you guys listen to me long enough, you know I champion the fact that our best days are ahead. We do not look in the rearview mirror to see our past successes as the best days of our life. It's always ahead. But I'm also not naive enough to think that that means that we are not bound to have really hard days in our future. So what do we do with that? When we start to reframe our failures and our setbacks and the rejections of our life, and then we see them as opportunities to learn things, then every future failure you're going to experience, your mind already is going to shift it to that journal entry. And you're like, you know what? I'm about to learn something that I will only learn because I'm going through this. Not in spite of, only because I'm going through this. So then when you shift your mind, this is why, y'all, it's why this whole podcast was created, because there's a theme in every single one of these episodes, is that mindset is everything. We can go through the exact same thing and come out completely different people. And you know what changes that? This. the way we think about it, the way we think about ourselves, the way we think about our futures, the way we think about whether or not we are a victim or whether we realize that we are a survivor, and we are not even that. We are a warrior, right? So we're never victims in our life, because you know what that does, y'all? It gives the power to somebody else in your life. And whenever you head down that road, I'm telling you, you're headed in a direction that's not true to who you are. And just like this podcast says, our authenticity is our superpower. And when you step into all of who you are, failures, mistakes, all of that, then ultimately that's when you get to learn, and that's when you get to grow into a very, very powerful version of yourself. Another quote that I love, it says, failure shows you the way by showing you what the way isn't. Failure shows you the way by showing you what isn't the way. Sorry, I messed that up first time. Listen, if you go and try something and you fail at it, guess what? You got 99 other things to try to see if it's going to work. Like if you've ever built anything, like for me, if you guys know, I'm passionate about helping people financially and with very practical things, from health insurance, life insurance, and retirement. So I'm a financial agent. That's like my day job, right? Other than, mindset and coaching and other things like that. But in the financial side of things, building a business, I have failed 100 times in figuring out the best way for me to sit with my ideal client, right? Like, how do you decide an ideal client, right? Then you have to do trial and error, right? Every time you sit with someone, you're like, that's not really my ideal client. And so like for me, I became the agent with benefits because I love the heart of a small business owner. But how did I get to that point? I sat with hundreds of other people to say, you know what, this is who I love to serve. Like I could serve anybody, but this is my passion, and this is the type of business I'm going to build. What is that for you in your life? If you look at your life and you're like, I'm trying to build this, trying to figure this out, then every single moment that you sit or you do something, or you try this kind of marketing, or you try this on social media, or you try this side hustle, you only know, and if you try. And so I love it when I meet someone that's like, I've tried 1,000 things, and I'm like, guess what? Then we can scratch all those off the list. Like, let's just start from there. Like, you know, this isn't the direction that you want to head. Now let's figure out what's most aligned with you and which direction that you do want to head, instead of hitting your head against the wall and saying there must be something wrong with me. No, you're human. And like Michael Jordan said, the only reason you're successful is because you failed tons of times. And I am telling you, you want to get really, really, really encouraged in life, start reading like the biographies or documentaries, or even just like following social media, hashtag 2024, of different people that are successful that you admire. And I want you to look at their lives. And what you're going to see is every single one of them have overcome hundreds of thousands of obstacles in their life. Not one of them had the silver platter of success like served to them where it was just easy. So listen, if it's not easy for you, you are in very good company. Like I am so encouraged by it. I'm like, every single time I had another setback, I'm like, all right, I'm in really good company. A lot of really successful people have experienced much bigger setbacks than this. It's why I love the book Worthy, because I didn't really know the story of Jamie Kern Lima. I didn't know her past. I knew about It Cosmetics, but now like diving into this book and listening to her podcast and other YouTube things that she's done, I see, oh my word, like so many deep, deep, deep moments that she could have chose. She could have just like chalked it up and been like, well, you know what? I gave it a good try. I got rejected again. And that must mean that I'm not worthy of success. But if you get in the right mindset, you just know that the rejection just points you in the right direction. And then you ultimately get to like dig deep and decide, okay, who I want to look in the mirror and be the most proud of myself, right? That's what you ultimately get to decide. You're going to allow the rejections and the failures to point you in the direction. But guess what? You never lose your worth in the process. Do not attach your worth to somebody else's rejection of you. Saying it a little louder for those in the back. Do not attach your worth to somebody else's rejection of you. They don't have that power over your life. They don't get to take that from you. And you know what I love? I'm going to read this. I'm skipping ahead, but I don't even care. You literally get to decide, and you get to add like new sentences onto new meanings of your life. And you know what you get to say? You know what? My worth my value may be hidden from somebody. That's why they're rejected. That's why they rejected me. Because guess what? They're not meant for my destiny. Isn't that like crazy cool? Like to think about, like, you know what? I am valuable. I am worth it. Like my business idea or me as a person, or maybe it's in a relationship or a friendship or a business idea or anything in your life. And you're like, why don't they see this? Like, why? Guess what? They may not be meant to see it. And how cool is it to think that, you know what, your value may be hidden from people who just aren't meant to be there for your future. And that's okay. It doesn't change your value or your worth, but because what you see is your rejection is just one more step in you getting towards your success. It's not a setback, it's a step forward. So, another thing I want you to think about are things in your life that you've added shame to, or like that have been really, really hard seasons. And so not only are we going to journal those and talk about how we've learned from them, but I also want us to completely reframe them and take like something that you've experienced that it maybe it is a deep, it's embarrassing, or it is shameful, or there's guilt associated with it. And like for Jamie Kern Lima, just part of her story was she has a skin condition called rosacea. That was part of the heart behind creating a cosmetic company that added great coverage for any type of woman, because she, as a woman that struggled with a face condition, knew that she wanted a natural, high quality product that was financially affordable for the masses. That would be a great product, right? So that was her passion, but it provided a lot of embarrassment. Like she struggled with being confident in her own skin, and so she took rosacea, and it was embarrassing to her, and ultimately it became her superpower, because she built a business off of being vulnerable and showing her rosacea and showing how her product added great coverage to something that provided her so much shame her whole life. Without that, she would have been just a picture perfect model that's all over every other cosmetic line and wouldn't have set her apart. But she allowed her transparency and vulnerability to be the superpower of her life. What are you allowing to be the superpower of your life? Or is your superpower still hidden because you are adding shame and you are still living in embarrassment and not releasing that to the world to say, guess what? I am not who I am in spite of this. I am who I am because of this. Tony Robbins says it's so great. Life happens for you, not to you. We got to stop living as victims. Woo! I got fired up. All right. And here's the thing. So I want you to think of your own life, right? Like hers was rosacea, was embarrassing, and it's her superpower. What in your life? What's the area? What's the current meaning that you've attached to it? And what's the new meaning that you're going to give it? Like for me, right? Like it wasn't rosacea, it was trichotillomania. You don't know what that is? Go back and listen to some of my beginning podcasts. I think maybe episode 4, talking about reframing your story. I think I dived through that. That was shameful to me. Like very, very, very shameful. But guess what? For me, that is my superpower. Like standing in the strength of owning who you are and owning the healing. That's my superpower. Right? Like, no, I didn't have it all easy. I didn't have it all figured out. I felt alone. And that, again, added so much guilt to my life. And I'm like, no, guess what? There is freedom in my story. Like another thing that I was giving a label of rejection was that I am single, right? So I was like, I am rejected. Like I've ruined my chances. Literally, I thought that in the past. Now, you know what I believe? I am healing and I am whole as a woman. And for anyone else in a season of life where you feel like it's defined by rejection, I want you to know that you are enough. Like as you are a whole person. Like, and if you don't believe that, then I encourage you to time out in your life and take a season and just devote it to healing and becoming whole and resting in the fact that you alone are enough for whatever you set out to do. But what we've got to do is we've got to shift our relationship with rejection. We've got to embrace it as power. Another huge illustration that I love is talking about a roller coaster, right? Like life feels like a roller coaster a lot of times. And y'all, every single time that roller coaster goes up, it's coming back down. And every single time it goes back down, it's going back up. And it feels like this constant. But listen, the only way you fail is if you jump off the roller coaster. You may be headed into a deep, deep, deep low in your life right now. And I just want to encourage you. You've lived enough to know that those deep lows are going to end and you're going to come out on the other side. And I'm telling you, the only way you fail is if you give up. So every single rejection, and I'm telling you, if you aren't being rejected, then guess what? You're doing something even more detrimental. You're living in your comfort zone. And I am preaching to the choir right now. There are so many areas of my life that I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I'm like, oh, I get scared, right? Like you still get scared because then you have to like jump to another level or step out of a comfort zone. But I'm telling you, when you can start to see that every no gives you a power and gives you a strength and a bravery to move forward and keep going, then again, you separate your identity from the no and you just keep moving forward. And just know that, y'all, I say it, if I have said it once, I've said it 100 times. We've got to stop living like we have a second life. We get one life to live. So go and be all in and bet on yourself and decide today, I am tired of letting failure take power over my life in a negative way. Instead, there is power in the failure of my life. And I know that I'm going to use that as my superpower. And I'm going to go out and live absolute my life to the fullest. And I believe it. And I believe it for every single one of you guys. And I am cheering you on and I love you. And that may sound so crazy because I may not have ever even met you, but listen, I love you and I will choose to love you until we meet and I find the millions of reasons that there are to love you. But there are people who hate people for no reason across the world. And I just don't think it has to be that way. So I believe in you. I'm cheering you on. And I ask you a couple of things. First of all, if you found value in this and you're watching this as a podcast, would you screenshot it, share it in your stories, tag me so I can shout you out? If you found value in it, please tell me what you found valuable, right? I want to come alongside you, and we're building this community of people who are just passionate. And if you are looking for a community that's even further than this, where we're not just like one-sided screen, but I meet on a Zoom weekly with a book club where we're just passionate about self-development. And right now we are going through the book Worthy. This is spring of 2024, but no matter when you listen to this, we're going to be going through some book that has the power to shift and change your mind. So you guys shoot me a message on any of my social medias at I'm Jen Gray. And I'm here for you guys. I love being in community with you, and you guys have an amazing rest of your day.